All right, let's dive in. The whole world is in a flat-out race to go green. And we're all seeing it, right? Electric cars are everywhere, solar farms are popping up, battery tech is getting better and better. But there's a secret at the heart of this whole transition, a really important truth about who actually holds the power.
So, who do you think is in the driver's seat here? Is it Silicon Valley, with all its crazy innovation? Or maybe it's European governments with their big climate goals? Or China with its insane manufacturing power? Well, the answer is probably not what you're thinking.
You see, the real command center of the green energy revolution, it isn't in some high-tech lab or a government building. It's in the heart of Africa. Why? Because the entire global energy transition, every single part of it, depends on the resources buried there. And two countries, in particular, are stepping into a massive spotlight.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to look past the finished products, the sleek cars and the shiny solar panels. And we've got to focus on what actually makes them work. There's a hidden dependency that this entire movement is built on.
We're talking about something called critical minerals. Think of them as the essential building blocks for all green tech. You can't have electricity without copper. It's in the wiring for EVs, it's in the huge grids that move renewable energy around. And cobalt. Well, cobalt is the magic ingredient that makes all those lithium-ion batteries stable and powerful.
Now, this is where the story gets absolutely wild. Just look at that number. Over 70%, 70, of the entire world's cobalt comes from one single country, the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's not just a big piece of the pie, it is a near monopoly on a resource that the entire planet is betting its green future on.
And then, right next door, you've got Zambia, an absolute powerhouse in copper production. So together, these two nations are literally the epicenter for the raw materials that are going to fuel our future. This isn't just about being rich in resources anymore. This is about having serious strategic power.
So what happens when you have such a concentration of essential stuff? Well, it's kicked off a modern-day geopolitical showdown. Forget the old fights over oil. The new great game is all about minerals, and the playing field is right there in Africa.
And this breaks it down perfectly. You have two totally different strategies clashing. On one side, you've got China, who played the long game. Years ago, they started investing billions in African mines, building refineries, and locking in long-term supply deals. Then on the other side, you have the West, which is frankly playing catch-up. They're scrambling with things like the Mineral Security Partnership, that's a US-led group, trying desperately to secure their own supply chains and get direct access to these minerals.
So the most important takeaway here is that this intense competition has completely flipped the script. Zambia and the DRC, they're right in the middle of this tug of war, and that position gives them incredible leverage. They're going from just being suppliers of raw materials to being powerful decision makers on the global stage. But here's the thing, these nations aren't just sitting back and letting the big powers fight over them. Nope, they're making their own strategic power play, and it's all designed to let them take control of their own economic destiny. And at the absolute heart of this strategy is a true game changer, the Lobito Corridor. Now, this is not just a railway. It's an economic superhighway. It connects the mineral-rich areas of the DRC and Zambia straight to a port on the Atlantic, completely changing how their resources get out to the rest of the world.
And the logic here is so simple, but it's revolutionary. Instead of dealing with slow, congested, and sometimes politically tricky routes, the minerals get pulled from the ground, put on this brand new railway, and sent straight to the Atlantic. This means faster, cheaper, and more direct access to global markets, all on their own terms.
But this is about so much more than just shipping things faster. The real goal here is a huge strategic shift. For decades, the old model was simple. Dig up raw materials, sell them for cheap, and let other countries make all the real money. Now, the goal is to go from just extraction to having total control over the entire value chain.
And if they pull this off, the benefits are just enormous. If you can refine minerals at home and build your own industries, you capture way more revenue, you create good local jobs, you strengthen your economy, and you become less dependent on others. This is how you finally break that old resource curse and turn mineral wealth into real, lasting economic power.
Now, let's be realistic. This journey is not going to be a walk in the park. It would be naive to think this massive power shift will be easy. There are some major hurdles both at home and from the outside that could get in the way of Zambia and the DRC reaching their full potential.
I mean, for one, there are still big infrastructure gaps to fill. The environmental damage from mining on this scale is a huge issue you just can't ignore. And maybe the biggest of all, you have to tackle really complex problems with governance, corruption, and making sure workers are treated fairly. And on top of all of that, their economies are still at the mercy of those wild price swings in the global market.
And it's not just internal pressure either. Big global companies, and even consumers like you and me, are demanding that these minerals are sourced ethically and sustainably. This pressure is both a huge challenge and, honestly, a powerful reason to reform. Getting this right is absolutely critical for them to succeed long-term.
So let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. When you put all these pieces together, the world's dependency on these minerals, the geopolitical tug-of-war, and Africa's own strategic moves, you can start to see the shape of a new world order coming into view.
Just think about what the world's superpowers need right now. Europe is desperate for energy security so it can hit its climate targets. The US is obsessed with securing its supply chains and being less reliant on China. And China, well, China needs a non-stop flow of these minerals to keep its spot as the world's factory.
And where do all of these roads lead? Every single one of them points directly back to Zambia and the Democratic Republic of Congo. They are sitting on the very resources that every major global power needs to win. This dependency is the source of their new power.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The world is absolutely going green. There's no stopping it. But the power to control how fast we go and in what direction, the power to flip the switch, so to speak, is increasingly being held in Africa.
And so that leaves us with the ultimate question. Are we really watching a genuine, lasting shift in global power, one where these nations finally control their own destinies? Or is this just a new, more complicated chapter in that same old game of resource competition, where the powerful just find new ways to stay on top? The answer to that is going to define our economy for the rest of the 21st century.